Hi, I'm Andrew Barlow. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy and Innovation at AppLearn, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this session, User Adoption, the Key to GRC Success. During the session, we're going to talk about user adoption, and we're going to talk about the impact that user adoption can have on GRC strategy value realization. We're going to look at some data points on how to measure user adoption, and we're going to be some key takeaways about how to consider adoption within your strategy to help you achieve the maximum value from your investments in GRC strategies and GRC technologies. So first of all, I'd like to introduce AppLearn. AppLearn as an organization, we have a digital platform that allows businesses to basically onboard, train, upskill users on new technology platforms, or even perhaps they might have already have a technology platform that they've deployed and they want to use immersive self-help to encourage people to get even more value from that technology and ultimately drive successful user experiences. But one of the first things I wanted to talk about really was the word adoption and what people consider adoption to be. Many businesses in the past have looked at adoption to be pretty much system usage. What does the usage of our system look like? I think a lot of us have heard those terms before. The challenge with that is that just because the technology is used doesn't necessarily mean it's useful. And as a result of that consideration, I think it's forcing many businesses to reevaluate what their perspective or their perception of adoption truly is. I think there is one thing that I can say, certainly from my experiences working with various customers around the world, and that is that adoption is inherently linked to value. I've seen many businesses that have rolled out technologies that have been poorly adopted and subsequently don't allow the business to realize the intended value from their investment in that technology. Whereas I've also seen many organizations truly drive high quality adoption of technologies, which then has translated into obviously higher value to the business. So I think from a consideration perspective, from an equation perspective, for me, high adoption is truly the key to unlocking value realization from investment in any technology. And ultimately, it is an equation that for me equals high adoption equals high value realization. So with that in mind, I think one of the biggest challenges that are facing many business leaders, or one of the questions that is facing many business leaders, specifically in today's market, I'll come on to that in a second, is how do we better understand adoption, and how do we help maximize the adoption of the technologies that we're investing in? Now, I think that question holds even more weight in today's climate because I think what we have seen is there's a stat that says that 68% of organizations have seen a huge spike in the amount of support requests coming into their businesses due to the fact that people are working remotely as part of the impact that the COVID pandemic has had. Similarly, we are also seeing statistics that are saying that businesses are going to spend 6 times more on technology over the next few years than actually predicted previously, in a bid really to future-proof themselves so that they can have truly valuable working from home or remote working strategies. So should this happen again, obviously, then their efficiency and productivity wouldn't be hit as hard. I think also what we're seeing though as well, another statistic is between many CIOs and CFOs are predicting that they are likely to shift between 5 and 20% of their workforce to a full remote working policy as a result of COVID, mainly because they've been able to demonstrate that it can work for them. But what that does to the end user, the employees, colleagues that use these technologies, is it means that they have to be more self-dependent. It means that they have to be able to adopt these technologies because they're not going to have a colleague that they can lean on in the office, that they perhaps might have a support desk, but support desks are going to get, they're going to be overwhelmed themselves, given the fact that people are working from home more. So with that being said, one of the things that we need to think about when colleagues are being encouraged to adopt technologies and be more self-dependent is what really drives adoption success. And at AppLearn, we really think that adoption is a people thing. At the end of the day, it's really about how can we help people better embrace digital tools, but also the processes, behaviours, and the strategies that those technologies support. So within the GRC landscape, it's important to adopt the GRC technology itself, but it's also important for colleagues to understand the processes, the behaviours, the governance, and the strategy that sits around that truly drives a successful GRC strategy. So adoption in that, guys, is not necessarily just about how do I use the tool. It's about encouraging the various different users that interact with that tool to truly understand the broader picture that will ultimately drive to success for them, but also for the business as a whole. Also, people are different. I've seen people talk about intuitive software drives adoption, and there is no doubt that if you can make things simpler, that inherently it will add value. The challenge is that what is intuitive to one person perhaps might not be to another. And my experience has seen how adoption is different within different generation layers, so to speak, where you might see senior leaders in the organisation, specific generation, may not find one thing intuitive, where some of the younger generations in the organisation who have been born with the internet, let's face it, they might find something a little bit more intuitive as a result. However, senior business leaders often can be more proficient at business process execution because they've done those processes before. They understand those processes, whereas younger generations perhaps not so. And that for me is a real demonstration of how adoption is not just a one and done, one-stop shop, one size fits all consideration. It's really about understanding what impact your new GRC strategy, your new GRC technology is going to have on the stakeholder groups that you expect to use it. So, and what I want to do now is just show you in a little while, show you how we deal with that at AppLearn when we're thinking about how to create immersive experiences to help people use the tool. Before I do that, I just want to share a stat with you. I found this stat amazing. And this has come out recently from Gartner, that 81% of people would prefer to self-serve their own help rather than contact a support rep. I think in the past we always thought, people would just go to the path of least resistance. If I can just pick the phone up and speak to somebody, it'd be easier. I think this stat is a demonstration that the times are changing, and that if 81% of people would like that, then how can we give 81% of people that self-help so that they can use the technology in the right way? And should they get stuck, they're able to successfully solve their own issues and complete the task that they were intended. What I will say about this stat as well is this is not just a stat that will be interesting for end users. It's also a stat that's interesting for businesses. Many senior global business services, IT service leaders, anybody that mans help desks, they also would like to give this 81% of people a better self-help experience. Why? Because it's more economically efficient to do that. than have many people manning help desk answering some support calls like I've lost my password. Surely in today's market we should be able to solve for that using technology, which leads me on to how AppLearn support people when they're implementing new technologies. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with showing you how our technology works inside a metric stream environment. So in this example, I've come into the homepage of metric stream and I've been given this. This is our product working on top of metric stream, and it is delivering what we call a smart page. This is basically onboarding the user to metric stream. It's going to say, welcome to metric stream. Let me tell you everything you need to know about metric stream, how you're going to use it, and how it's going to support yourself and the business as a whole. You can talk about the importance of GRC, the GRC strategy, the governance, the frameworks, the processes that sit around that. It is a wonderful opportunity to onboard people to the GRC strategy inside the tool when they first log in. You can also use these pages deeper inside the tool. So when a user goes into a specific module of metric stream, or any technology, you can then give them additional communication at that point. Welcome to this module. Let me tell you what this module is all about and how you should use it. Again, accelerating the onboarding for end users, which is what this session is all about. You know, how is user adoption the accelerator to GRC success? And again, you can use it in other areas to promote different modules, different features within inside tools. In this example, policies and documents, explaining what that's about, and also how the expectations around the usage of that specific module. Back to the 81% stat that we talked about before, what you can see on the right-hand side in this example is this is how we at AppLearn, this is a module that we have called Split Screen, that is offering the user self-help inside the tool. So it is catering for the 81% of people that would prefer to have self-help available to them. But it's going above and beyond. It's not just saying here's access to some help. What it's doing is it's saying, I know who you are, what you're trying to do, what your language preference is, what your role is within the metric stream system, and I also know what tasks you're trying to do. And based on that, I'm going to recommend some help that's going to be more pertinent to what it is you're trying to achieve. Obviously, users can then access documents. You can see here, I can open a document. I'm not even leaving metric stream. I'm just directly inside the system. I'm accessing help and support to drive my own self-help. That could be a video. Again, you could deliver video content in here. It could be a digital video around how to complete a process. It could be a broader video on some of the policies and processes and best practices that sit around that as well. But I think the key takeaway here is that this is intelligent self-help delivered on demand based on the user's role profile. What you can also do is you can also physically guide users through complex processes. We do that in the form of a module called Trails. Trails is basically, if you think of it as a step-by-step trail that's going to guide somebody through the process of completing a task, perhaps for the first time. But it could be that you might want to help users that are completing things infrequently. So you can offer these step-by-step assisted guidance inside the tool to new users that are completing things the first time, as I say, but also for existing users, for things that might be overly complex, or for processes that are done infrequently, or processes that are high risk, and you really want to make sure that people are putting the right information in to drive higher quality task completion. This is not a simulation. This is physically guiding somebody live through the process of completing these tasks. Now, the next thing that is important about adoption is immersive help to drive successful adoption will translate to high value realization, but demonstrating that is equally as important. So what you can see here is these are user journey analytics, and what this allows businesses to do is understand how people are navigating through the technologies that they're using. It can also show you things like how long it's taking to complete a task. which processes are our highest cost processes in terms of completion, in terms of minutes and seconds to complete. That will then translate to showing you where blockages are, where people get stuck. And these insights are really painting a picture for you as to where are my adoption challenges in a technology and what could I potentially do from a user experience perspective using some of the modules I've just shown you to drive more successful outcomes. You can then drill deeper into specific business processes where you might want to look at additional more detailed view on, for this specific process, where do people struggle and where do they have challenges. This data is then fundamentally used to report back to the business to say, we've got a handle on adoption, we understand our adoption, we know it's high, we can react to it. So if we start with one module of metric stream and we want to evolve and grow, we can demonstrate that we're building a solid foundation to release future functionality to users. So analytics is a fundamental component to demonstrating business value and ultimately demonstrating GRC success. Just want to pull out some high-level stats for you as we close out here. This is the evidence that these types of technologies and the thought around adoption is truly driving business value. So in the top left-hand corner, you can see a stat there, 30%. What that is really about is if you're offering intelligent self-help, you will effectively reduce support tickets by 30%. So you can truly drive and reduce costs. Imagine being able to reduce support tickets by 30% today for some of the high impact transactional applications you have in your business. You know, the cost saving can be huge. Because you're delivering that self-help, users are more likely to access it, therefore they're going to call the help desk less. Again, from a business perspective, this is really about cost saving. In the top right hand corner, this is aligned with one of the modules I showed you before. If you're delivering self-help on demand and you're going to the effort of recommending help that is contextual, effectively you can reduce the time to find help by 7 minutes per transaction. And that's compared to if you had a traditional portal strategy where you put all of your content on Microsoft SharePoint or some other environment, and the experience for a user is if you get stuck, go to SharePoint and try and find what you need, versus it being recommended. That statistic comes from around 7 minutes reduction in time. Just two more stats to pull out. Middle bottom stat, possibly the most powerful stat here. By guiding people through the tool and by offering self-help, you reduce task completion times by 50%. Imagine being able to give people 50% of the time that they spend in applications back to them because you're able to help them transact things quickly. Bottom left, final stat here. Users are 2 times more likely to complete tasks when offered self-help. Now, basically what that does is it demonstrates that you can drive better productivity, better quality of participation, higher engagement with technologies. Middle stats are really around efficiency savings, and then as you can see, cost savings at the top there as well. So with that, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this session. If you would like to hear more information about Applearn, about what we do as an organisation, how potentially we could help you support the adoption and ultimately realise the value from your GRC strategy, then feel free to connect with us at applearn.com, or we're also available on the metric stream by contacting your appropriate metric stream representative as well. So thank you for your time.